Hey everyone, and welcome to Chasing Growth, a new episode. And before we get into the things they're gonna share today, I would like to ask you to subscribe, to share on social media, to subscribe on YouTube and tell your friends, and just talk about what we're doing. That's how you can help us. You will be helping Chasing Growth. And why we need this podcast, because we want to keep growing. You wanna get better. I wanna get better. We're gonna keep pushing that. So we just keep growing. If you're not growing, you are dying. So hopefully this podcast will help you with that growth, and we keep advancing and moving forward. So what I want to talk today have to do a lot with the culture of a company, but primarily with the beginning of your life in a company. A lot of people get hired in different places. It can be a retail store, can be in an IT department, marketing department, any type of department. And usually your process for that is an interview, and a lot of people know this now. And I'm imagining that a lot of people is doing what everybody advised, to have several interviews, different people, taking your time before you hiring somebody, because you are one person away to have a huge lawsuit, or then you will find yourself have to build a case against somebody to be able to fire them with all the different restrictions that may be out there. So if you're in that situation, if you're in a situation where you find yourself building a case to fire somebody, building a case to let somebody go, it's probably because you didn't do two things well. One, hiring, and the other one, training. And about hiring, there's all kind of things that people recommend. Several interviews, personality tests, all kind of stuff that you can do. The team where they're gonna be hiring, part of the interview, and everybody has an input about that, and it's great. And we hear a lot about that, but what I don't hear a lot is about training. So any place where you get hired, you get a training, and usually have to do more with where you find the bathroom, or this is where you find paper, or very silly things like that. And sometimes you may be even training a software. If you're a professional and you already know how to use the software, you don't even get that. And what is the problem? And we talk a little bit maybe about the culture, but we don't really train people. And what happened, people get hired. It can be a great person that we hire, a great individual, a lot of talents, a lot of skills, everything. And that's what it is, a great individual with a lot of talents, but they never become a believer of what we do. So the idea of a good training is to take somebody who's new in a company and actually not just come to do a job, but also become a believer and a supporter of what you do. And that's very important, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people today in your company, ministry, church, they may be there because it's just a job. I remember talking with a pastor a while ago, and I was asking some questions, and he will tell me, well, I don't believe that, but the church believes this. I don't believe this, but, and he will say things like, well, I personally believe this, but the church, and clearly he's not a believer 100% into what that church is doing. So what you have, that is just an employee. It's not a real believer. So you have to have a training to take people from being just an individual that is new hire to become a believer of what your mission is, the why you're doing what you do, and why it's so important. When people become a believers, they will sweat blood for you. They will do any kind of thing for the ministry, company, church. Even sometimes when the pay is not that much, but they're gonna do it because they believe in what you do. They believe in the mission. They believe in the direction. They believe in this idea that you have that you're doing. So, how you take that person from a new employee to a believer is the training. And again, many people get trained, couple weeks maybe. And again, usually it's like showing around, introducing to people, hey, this is accounting, this is that, and then they put it to work. And many of and we waste so much time in people learning the way the company talks internally, the different way we name things, the different processes and stuff like that. And a lot of time that new person, when they come with all the energy in the world, they want to do things, but they find themselves hitting this wall. They don't know the terminology. They don't know what people's referring to. They don't know the culture. They messed up. They say things and do things. They sometimes even ruin the whole career they may have in a place. So training is key. So if you're not doing training, like the way it should be when people go from a regular new hire to becoming a believer, somebody who you can send out and they will sell and talk well about your company, ministry, or church, you're not doing a good job. You need to start a new training. So first of all, the first training you should have is a training about knowledge. How much the person know about the company, how much they can ready to present that company to somebody else. Can they go and tell somebody else about what you do exactly? Or say, well, I'm in this company and I work in IT. But what do you sell? I don't know. I don't really know the product because I just sell. The worst thing that you have, if you can have, is an employee that's not a believer, and at the same time, because he's not a believer in what you do, what's gonna happen? They're not gonna be consuming your product, and they're not gonna have a clue. Sometimes they may even prefer another product or your competition. So you have to make this person a believer, and that's have to do first of all with the knowledge about what you do, why we do it, the training on that. Then if you're any company, every place, coffee shop, churches, ministries, retail stores, IT companies, whatever, we all usually deal with customers. And the biggest problem you have, there's so many people who go to work in some departments and they don't have a clue who is the customer, who is the person who actually buy the product that allows you to have a business, whatever that product is. Maybe a subscription, maybe materials, whatever that is. If you don't know that and you don't understand who that customer is and the processes and the culture you have around how you serve that customer, you just have an employee just doing their part. And that's not what you want. You want a real believer. So you need a training of the customer. For example, Zappos, the shoe company, every employee spend, I don't know, a month, I believe, in the customer service department, learning about customer service and the culture they have around customer service is very important. If you don't have a culture around the customer service, you have to develop one, and you have to be able to teach it and train everyone, from the person who clean the tables, the person who clean the bathroom, to the person who is an executive and make big decisions. Everyone should understand the person who actually buy your product. So you need a training on that. Of course, you need trainings on software and in how you do say things. A lot of time people get confused because every company in their own culture will talk and say things and refer to things with letters, with different ways, and they will be completely lost or confused. So you have to teach people. This is what, when we say this is what we refer. This is what we're talking about. Train on culture. This is very important. You need to explain people. You have to drill this down. This is how we operate. This is how we see gossip. This is how we deal with problems. This is how we treat one another. And a lot of places they don't even know what a culture training is, and you should have a culture training to know what to do, how we do it, and how that person should be doing, how we face problems, how we relate to one another. When you don't have that, you will have problems. Clarify expectations and how those expectations are checked. So some employees, sometimes they think that some things don't apply to them because they're not in a specific department, and that's a big problem. If you hire somebody and you clearly not only say, hey, these are your goals, this is what we're trying to achieve in your job, in your position, but this is also the expectation that we have from you as employee. And if you don't do this will happen, and these are the steps. If you don't do that, some people, believe it or not, will think they're not responsible, or they're not accountable for those behaviors and all that kind of stuff. They can happen, especially these days with social media, Instagram, and all the stuff that people can put stuff out there. If you don't have these trainings on the expectation as an employee, what is expected from them, especially if you're at some type of very public company, if you don't set up expectations, it will be a big problem. I shared before in this podcast the story of my dad working for Coca-Cola for many years. And I remember going to restaurants and we will sit down and he will ask what type of drink they have. Do you carry Coke products? And the waiter will say, no, we don't carry Coke product, they will say Pepsi or something like that. And my dad will make a stand up and leave. He was a believer of Coke, a believer in the company, a believer in what they do. And he understood in their expectation that he was not allowed to be seen drinking another product that wasn't Coke. And that was very clear from the beginning. So there were no doubt about it. So we need to create that training too, to clarify the expectations and how these are checked so people know what to do. So for example, you don't want to have, you work in a non-profit to help people with alcoholism, and then one of your employees is posting pictures of drinking alcohol in all these places. That would be a big mistake, a big problem. And the person need to understand they represent the company. But if you don't have this training, if you're not investing time and having a clear training for all these things, you will have these problems, and you're gonna find yourself firing people. You're gonna find yourself building cases to be able to fire somebody. You're gonna find yourself maybe in a lawsuit, etc., because you didn't address all these things. After you do all this, and you have presented expectations, you may have how these expectations are checked. You also can present to people how in this culture, in this company, you're already presenting what you do, and people believe in it and what they do. And it's not just an employee that really believe in the mission and the direction and the why you're doing what you do as a company. You also got to present how you deal with problems, with correction when somebody's not doing their job. People need to know that, and they need to know from the beginning. They need to know it as well as the managers. They need to know as well as everybody else, so they know. So it's not a surprise when they go to the HR department and they get fired. This is very important because you will avoid all type of legal problems, all type of things that can happen. So you have to have a process of correction, and the employees, each one, need to know it. Need to know this process. Now, you can have a standard for the whole company, and at the same time, you can have a more particular one depending on what they do. Is it finance? They have, if the credit score is really bad, or something happened with their, they found out that they were stealing money in some place, etc. I don't know. Maybe very unique for that area, but in general, the company should have a standard of the corrections. In correction related to the performance, in correction related to if they are being part of the culture or not, because you don't want somebody who's just an employee and go and do what they're supposed to do and go home and they do not care. Well, if you do that, what you're gonna have is somebody who just meet expectations, but they never go above a little bit more. And as you know, if you work out, if you do any exercise, when you work out and you're doing your rep, your set, when you cannot do a little bit more, and you do that extra more, the impact is way much more than just doing what is expected, what the routine call for. It's the same thing for people. If people just do what is expected, that's all. You're gonna be an average company. But if people that's what is expected, but they push for more, you're gonna be a great company. And how you get there is with a great trainer, with a great training, in training that culture and making believers of these people. But at the same time, you need that correction process. Now, it's not enough to have it one time. The person comes to the company, they have been there 10 years, things change, things start to, moving and all that stuff. You need constantly have times of tune-up, times of arrangement, time to that people can go again to this training. Maybe not in the same amount of time. Maybe it used to take you 3 weeks to train somebody to become a believer, when they knew and understood everything about the company, and they knew what to say, they knew where to go, they knew the lingo, they knew everything. Now you can do it maybe in a couple of days. So just repeat people and remind people how things work. You have to do this. Finally, I think with every training, people need to be accountable. It's not enough just present information. It's important to people to develop something that what they're gonna do with that information. Knowledge without any action is completely dead. It means absolutely nothing. So when you do a training, there's nothing wrong with have some type of test at the end of the training, some type of evaluation at the end of the training, so people can show what they're learning. They show they're getting it. It's not just information. They can speak by themselves about the why you're doing what you do. And it's very important. Again, a lot of people focus a lot in the interviews, and that's great. You should be doing that, and we will talk about interviews and interviews questions that you should be asking. in the future. But today we were talking about the training. You have to invest in a good training, a training that cover knowledge, how much the person know about the company, a training that cover customer service. Usually we're selling or giving something to somebody, and we need to know that you need to have a concept, a culture of customer service, some type of model for customer service. If you don't have one, you have to develop, because everybody understands customer service different. So if you don't explain it how your company does, that person will do it their own way. If there's a software, you need to understand it well and understand how that communication goes. You have to train in the culture, how we deal with problems, how we feel about gossip, how we do this, how we relate to one another, dignity, honor, respect, all that kind of stuff. They always sound well, and sometimes you find it in some book in HR, but nobody know it. And of course, the mission and vision of the place and all that kind of stuff is very important. You have to clarify the expectation, not just for the job, the goals and all that stuff, but also clarify the expectations for the behavior. And also they need to know that those will be checked. It's not just, hey, there's the expectation and you walk away. You have to be checking on those expectations. And they need to know what happened when they don't reach, they're not following those expectations, how the correction work. There's nothing more unfair than somebody showing up one day and they lose their job because they didn't know they were doing terrible. Give people a chance if that's part of a good culture. So you want to do that. And finally, keep repeating trainings. It will take you nothing. If you bring 5 people, 10 people so often to do some training, you can do it online. There's a way to do it online. But you keep repeating the same message, keep repeating the same message. You heard before, the leaders are repeaters, and the training is key to be repeating all the time. If you don't wanna find yourself with just employees that do as much as necessary and then I go home, but you wanna have people who reach the expectation and go a little bit more so your company is better, you need to create a great training. So thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Remember, sharing this on social media, and I hope it helped you to keep growing and keep moving forward. Have a great night. God bless you.